Thanks everyone for coming tonight. I apologize in advance. This is a little bit more of a developer-focused talk, but it does have a lot of the same lessons for just if you're just interested in learning how to use WordPress in general. A lot of these things still apply, especially for content creators. So, before I get started, a little bit about myself. My name is Adam Soucie. I am a web developer and content writer at Highforge. We're a local digital design and marketing agency here right downtown. I'm also part of the WordCamp organizing committee this year with David and Lisa and David and another David. And there's like 5 other Davids, I think. We're just all going to change our names to David now. I think that's the new rule. But basically, primarily, I call myself a web developer, not a WordPress developer for now, but that's going to be changing soon, hopefully, because we do a few other things in addition to WordPress, but a lot of what we do is built on WordPress because it's such a great and flexible platform, and that's a lot of what I want to talk about today. So to get started, WordPress is easy. If you've ever used WordPress.com, you know it's incredibly easy. What makes WordPress such a great platform, whether over something like even Tumblr or Blogger, is it's just so easy to get started, and you don't have to think about it because the software is so well designed that all you have to do is get in there and start writing. That's what makes WordPress so great. But if you're looking more to set up your own site, WordPress is still easy because you can set up your website in less than 5 minutes. And depending on your hosting platform that you choose, a lot of them will actually pre-install WordPress for you, so you don't even have to do the one little bit of hard work that goes along with installing WordPress. You don't have to worry about it because you just click a button that says install WordPress and you're done. There are tons of free resources available. Meetups like this, websites just dedicated to getting people started like WP Beginner. These are all resources that are available and they're completely free. That's the most important part about this, because WordPress at its core is open source, which means it's available to everyone at no cost. That doesn't mean work on WordPress is free, but that's a whole different topic, and we're going to get to a little bit later. But as you can see tonight, not just myself, but through all the Davids, Lisa, everybody just here in Orlando, but all throughout the country, there are events and this massive, massive community of these people, because we really believe and we buy into the WordPress philosophy, which is all about helping each other. Even though I work at an agency, David runs his own agency, other David runs his own agency, we're all friends, we all try to help the community because, yes, we may compete for business, but at the end of the day, as long as people are using WordPress, that makes us happy. And we want to make sure we help grow that community, because every time we grow a new client chooses WordPress, it helps. They become, as they get used to using their website, they can now share that with other people. That means more potential clients for us, but it also means more potential resources, because those people start to learn WordPress and they share what they know, and as the people kind of buy in, the whole big thing with WordPress is sharing. WordPress is also hard. I know that seems kind of weird. It's easy, but it's also hard. It's really easy to get started, but it's more than just a blogging platform. Like I said, we do a lot of different kinds of things with WordPress at our agency. Whether it's an e-commerce site, just a basic, you just need a landing page. Like the Trovo guys are talking about, they use it for their blog, but you can easily build their entire website using WordPress. The great thing about WordPress is it is so flexible, but that also means it takes a lot of extra work to do those things outside of its kind of core functionality, which is still a blogging platform. Unfortunately, there are also a lot of, as much as there are all these tons of free resources, there are a lot of bad resources out there. The problem is because WordPress has been around for about 12 years now, people that have come up with these great solutions that maybe worked 3 years ago, but WordPress has updated since then, but no one's kind of addressed the problem if it's changed. Those solutions are still out there and they still have high Google rankings. Well, we ran into a situation last week where we hadn't done something in a while and we're like, oh, that's right, there's that one article. And we remembered, and I looked at the date and it was like 3 years old. We figured, okay, well, it's still popping up on, I think it was the #1 search result for this thing we were trying to figure out in Google. So we grabbed the bit of code, threw it in there, and it technically worked, but it created a much larger problem for us that we then had to solve. Once we went back and looked at that small bit of code that we just grabbed, we realized there was a better way to do this, but nobody had written about it. And so now we're in the process of writing an article of, here's how you solve this problem. But until somebody else, whether it's us or somebody else does that, that bad resource, which it's not going to like break your website, but it's going to cause a lot more hard work, because it still has that high ranking, people are still using it. So WordPress has a legacy, but it's not necessarily always a good one, but it's still something that it shows the power of the community and the free resources that are out there. The other big problem with WordPress is that there's a heavy reliance on plugins. Plugins are what make WordPress so extendable, but as you're trying to become if you're a new developer, or if you're a developer that's gone from, yes, I know HTML and CSS, but now I kind of want to take that next step, the first roadblock you're going to run into is you say, oh, I need to do this with WordPress. And you throw it into Google, and you'll get 10 articles that all have very similar titles, and you click on each one of them, and each one says, we'll use this plugin. As someone that's trying to learn, it's something I've gone through countless times, and if you've been to any of the other meetups, you've heard me rail against plugins for this very reason. If you're trying to learn how to do something, if someone just says, oh, don't bother learning how to do it, just use this, does that really help you? So that is the one problem that WordPress does have, but it's something that I know other developers like myself we're trying to change that and get people to understand. You don't always need to use a plugin. Plugins may be a really good quick solution. Like if you're in the process of prototyping a site for a client, and you know what, it's due tomorrow and you need to get it done, go ahead and use the plugin, knowing that full well before you do the final version, you're going to actually write your own code, because that way you can customize it, you can make sure it fits the client's needs. The other great thing about WordPress is that there are standards and they mean something. And just real quick, if you were at Barcamp, you have seen this. I know I do recognize a couple faces in the audience. I made sure to give you the link this time. The standards do exist for WordPress. This is primarily a coding situation, but they're not as well promoted as they should be. Because even if you go to this link here, it's actually the link that tells you, oh, by the way, the standards have moved, and here are the 4 pages they're at. What's great about the standards is they help you write better code. As a developer, once I noticed right away, once I started actively applying the standards to my code, I had far fewer bugs. My performance-wise, things actually ran better. I stopped driving my leads insane with bad code, and we didn't have to do code reviews nearly as much. It's the kind of thing that if you just follow these basic things, and I know we don't have a lot of developers in the room, but it's like if somebody gave you a kind of a basic template to follow. Here's how you want to write your articles. Here's how you want to, like if you're trying to promote your business, these are the 5 steps you always want to make sure you hit. That's not going to give you the exact words to use, but make sure you do something like this and something like this and something like this. That's what the standards do. So for developers, it's a huge asset, and not enough people know about them, because at the end of the day, it's a free piece of software. No one's going to say, no, you can't run your website with WordPress if you don't follow the standards. Anyone can do it. You can write bad code, but we're doing our best to make sure people don't. If you'd like to learn more about the standards, you can follow the link here. By the way, all these slides will be up on my website, which there will be a link later too, so you don't have to worry about trying to write down the long URL. I mentioned it before, WordPress work isn't cheap. There's a reason that a lot of us speaking today, we're professionals. We don't do this, as much as we do events like this to give back to the community, we still have to make a living. WordPress is free to use, but that doesn't mean if you have to hire somebody to make it that you shouldn't pay them, because they still have to do the work. And if you really think about it, at the end of the day, you're making money off of that person's work. So you almost think of developers as you're basically employees. You wouldn't expect your employees to work for free, so why would you expect your web developer to work for free? And for those developers, and even for content writers, constantly remind yourself that you have value. If you feel like you are not being paid what you are worth, look for other options, because I've been there. I've not so much in the development community, but I've been in places where I've been taken for granted at some large companies in town, that they don't understand that the importance of what we do for their business, and it's the kind of thing that can really break a person down. So if you're a business owner, please take this to heart, because when it comes to having a website developed, it literally takes weeks for us to especially if you're working with an agency. It isn't just, oh, we're gonna buy a quick theme online and we're gonna write a few lines of code and we're done. I know we don't do that. I know the Davids don't do that. Lisa's not a developer, but I know she wouldn't do that, because I've seen her content. It's fantastic. She doesn't just write cookie cutter stuff. We put time and effort into this, weeks worth of work, just to get one piece of content down, content or website out. It takes time, and it's something that's really, really important. I can't stress this enough. I've kind of rushed through this, but that's because I tend to speak fast. But this is the hardest lesson to learn when it comes to WordPress, and really with everything that comes with software development, anything you're trying to learn. It's going to take you time. Jeff, he works with me over at Highforge. He sees it firsthand with me every day. I'm the type of person that tries to run before I can crawl, and he's always reeling me in, because you want to do these great, wonderful things, and WordPress gives you the platform to do it. And because it's so easy to get started, you feel like you're 1,000 feet tall when you're really only an inch tall at the start. And you have to remind, it takes almost 10,000 hours to really truly master something. And you think about how long 10,000 hours is. That's a long, long time. And always be reminded, going back to even to the community, there's always a bigger fish. And I apologize for quoting Star Wars. There's always a bigger fish. Which means not only is there always somebody that's doing it better than you, and that's okay, but there's always that person that you can learn from. And that's what WordPress is all about, community. It's all about learning. There's always someone out there that's been doing this longer than you, unless your name is, the people that actually build WordPress that started it all 12 years ago. There's probably no one that knows WordPress better than them. But that's because they invented it. So for 99% of us, there's always going to be someone that you can learn from. And with that, any questions?
What's the best theme for someone who wants to just start a blog and have it viewed either on a regular computer or a cell phone or whatever?
That is the literally $10 million question. If I had that answer, I would not
What's
be.
a good one?
Honestly, the current theme that comes prepackaged with WordPress is called 2014 is fantastic. It's responsive. If you're willing to wait a little bit, the screenshots and the designs I've seen for 2015, which comes out, I believe it's going to come out with 4.1. I think that's the plan. It should be out basically by the end of the year. It's gorgeous. It's very modern. It's responsive. And it's very blog-centric as well, which is really nice.
How will you handle multiple devices? Is there an emulator or something where you can see how it's going to appear on?
It's a great question. The question, in case somebody didn't hear, it's all about how do you handle multiple devices and developing for multiple devices. If you're not developing in Chrome as your test browser, I'm just going to be honest, you're doing it wrong. I don't like saying that too often, but it's because Chrome gives you all of these tools, one of which is Chrome now comes with a built-in emulator where you can select, I lost count of the total number of devices, but it's every Android device that's available, even like old legacy ones, you can test for their screen sizes, as well as all the recent iPhones except for the new one. I don't think it's been updated to the new specs yet, as well as the iPads, iPad mini, and even devices you've never heard of are listed there. So all you have to do is you click the little mobile icon in your development console, and it'll bring up a drop down and say what would you like? And then you select whatever device it is, refresh, and it will resize your window. even if you have your window like this big, it'll shrink it down to like this. So what's actually the device pixel width.
So you mentioned developer's console. How do you get into that environment?
Couple different ways to do it. The easiest one, actually, I can show you guys.
The easiest way to start is just to grab the right-hand side of the Chrome browser.
Yep.
You slide to your left, it'll automatically resize.
So
If you're just wanting to look at themes and see how they kind of change with
Yep.
different widths, that's the easiest.
So that's like this. All you do is just grab it and resize. But if we open our inspector,
Yeah, it's just going to show.
Yeah,
It's
sign
not
up for a
show
special
specific
Yeah.
device. Yeah.
what I'm talking about is this little button right here. It brings up this little selector. And the way you get into that is when you have Chrome open. If you're using a Mac, it's Option Command I. But then you also have the option of right click, inspect element, and that'll bring up the same thing.
It's out of the box. You don't have.
Yeah, it's completely out of the box. You don't have to download anything special. Firefox does have a similar developer tool, as does Safari, but they're not nearly as good or detailed. So.
What's the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org?
That is a great question, and actually we have someone that can really explain the difference, but because he works for WordPress.com. WordPress.com is a service that basically, as far as I understand it, it's mostly a blogging platform, is the best way to put it. You're kind of limited in what you can do. WordPress.org, it gives you the back end, what runs WordPress.com, and lets you, basically it's a sandbox. You can build whatever additional code you want to plug in there to make it work. To do any custom functionality, you can do that, and it's available for free. But what you don't have is all of the hosting. So you have to go and do kind of all the hard work of finding a hosting provider, finding your own domain name, all of that stuff. You have to do all of that yourself. Whereas WordPress.com, it's you create an account, you have a username, and it'll be mywebsite.wordpress.com. So, and you can get custom domains, which is actually exactly what you do, as I learned today. So there are a lot of really great features of WordPress.com, and if all you want to do is get started with a blog, that's a great way to get started and get yourself familiar with the platform. And when you're ready to take that next step, you have a couple different, you can either learn how to code it yourself and how to do everything yourself, which is great, or you talk to someone like us and we'll help you get started as an agency to take your site to the next level. You were first.
What's a good membership site software?
That is a very good question. Honestly, one I've never dealt with. I've never dealt with membership stuff. I know there. David, do you have any?
I do all sorts of membership websites. So I would suggest, have you heard of Chris Lemma? He writes a lot about WordPress, and if you go to his website, chrislemma.com, at the very top, he has a good breakdown. I always recommend people look there, because he gives a nice little flow chart of, is this paid membership or is this free? Is it restricted content or not? Is it, there's not a one-size-fits-all answer, only because each one of them is tailored to specific types of needs. So it really depends on all your personal preferences. That said, all of the payment platforms like WooCommerce, Exchange, and Easy Digital Downloads have their own membership features. Yeah, so there's a ton out there.
I just want first.
Sorry, Chris Lemma, Lema. CHRIS, I guess. In case it's not a weird Chris spelling. I always recommend his site just because he does like walkthroughs, tutorials, and videos on all the different big membership plugins.
I think he blogs daily too, so there's a lot of great information outside of just the membership stuff. So, end up here.
Yeah, the battery source you mentioned earlier. Want to talk about that? I mean, what was the code about? Just
I'm trying to remember even what it was. It was something really simple too, and it was using kind of old functionality, and that's really a lot of what it is. It's functions that we've come up with a better, more efficient way to do things. That stuff that you, instead of using 6 lines of code, you can do in 3. It's little things like that, and that's the kind of thing that as a developer, yes, it's great you want to learn the basics, but what you don't want to learn is habits, because as you're starting, you're going to develop your habits, and bad habits are really hard to break, especially as a programmer. I first learned how to code, actually I learned in C++. I code a certain way, and I will always code a certain way, because of the way I learned C++. So like the way I use brackets, the way I use spacing is not necessarily like the way you're supposed to do it in PHP, but because my brain is just hardwired at this point to code a certain way, I always will. And that's why when you're learning and you come across those resources like, oh, here's how you do this. And if you end up having to do it a lot, it'll just come from memory. It'll get to the point where you won't look it up anymore. You'll just type it out. But you could be typing out something that isn't the best way to do things. So they're not necessarily like, they're not bad in the sense of like, oh, they're going to create a security vulnerability, although that does happen because maybe it's an old piece of code that we've since discovered was a security problem, but people still use it. Tim Thumb, which is a picture resizer, is a perfect example of that. People and very, very popular plugins and theme developers were still using it until last week. The creator of it finally came out and said, please stop using my old broken code. I don't support it anymore. It's a major security problem. Please stop using it. And finally, the community has said, okay, we'll stop using it. So. Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend for learning HTML and PHP, like Code Academy?
That is a great question. How to learn how to code. There's a ton of great resources. A great one is right here. Literally, it's built in these rooms, Code School. They are obviously a great local company. They do a lot for us here because they gave us this space. I've used Code School. I've also used Code Academy because it is, I think, at least free to start. Another great company that's here in town, one that I used more personally, was Treehouse. They're a local company as well. And actually, if you are an Orange County resident and you have a library card, you can actually get a free Treehouse account and save yourself about $500 a year. So that's the huge advantage to that one. And you don't have to go to the library to use it. You can access it for I think it's, yeah, sure, actually. I'll go ahead and pull that up because that's very important. OCLS.
/programs/DIY learning. No, I've not spelled it. Many people.
And I'm not on the Wi-Fi, so but there it is.
No, you won't.
Yeah.
It's really great right there. There's a dinosaur and everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's all so yeah, that's embarrassing. Yeah, let's go back to that.
It could have been worse.
Yeah. Oh yes, it could have been worse. Yes.
If you start in 2014 and want to go to 215 after that, is there going to be a changing of things? Is that going to be a problem?
No, not at all. You may have, if you do any sort of customization to it, because having seen, like I've 2014 has been out for almost a year now. Having seen what 2015 looks like, they're very different as far as their layout's concerned. So your site will look different. So especially if you start now and you get it out there, any of your potential readers, they'll notice it. They'll definitely notice the change. It's a pretty obvious change, but it shouldn't affect it won't affect your content. The theme, all it does is make it kind of, for the lack of a better word, make it look pretty. So just changing your theme for the most part won't change your content. Now, if you go ahead and do a whole bunch of customizations and move things around, that's a whole different scenario, and that's something, unless you really know what you're doing, you should have a professional guiding you for it.
As for plugins, when should you use them? When are they good to use? And also, what are the support and legacy issues like? Do they break when new versions come out and such?
Depends on the plugin, and it depends on the developer of the plugin. Really, that's more what it comes down to. There are very few plugins that we absolutely, without question, stand by, and one of them is Gravity Forms, because writing HTML forms is a pain in the butt, especially with maintaining them. Another one that we use almost constantly it's called Display Widgets, and it just lets us control when widgets appear on the sidebar. By the way, I'm not sure if some of those are available on WordPress.com. The way widgets work on WordPress.com and WordPress.org is a little bit different, because I think it also depends on what you pay for.
A little bit.
Yeah.
WordPress.com supports a lot of different plugins and widgets, but if you want to use something that's not supported, you won't be able to do
Yeah.
it. You probably need something more custom.
Exactly.
That you can get with WordPress.org.
So there's nothing across the board when they come a new version, no matter what the developer is like. I did some work development in 3D applications, 3D Studio, Max, and sometimes a new version would come out, and all the plugins had a file to account for whatever changes had gone to DLLs or something.
You don't have nearly as much of an issue with that with WordPress because everything's still written in PHP, and because of the nature of the WordPress economy, as far as like what hosting providers support, versions of PHP they support, and things like that. Because WordPress still has to support like older versions of PHP, you do have a lot more backwards compatibility. The trick will be is if the plugin developer is using a lot of really old code, stuff that is in the process of being removed and replaced with a new function. If that function does get removed in that new upgrade, whether it's going from 4.0 to 4.1, or even just like if we find there's a security problem, we need to change that. If they're using those functions, yes, it will break. But usually, if you're using good plugins, an update won't break your site. But if you're using a bad plugin, an update will not only break your site, it could really, really harm your site. So that's why I'm a little bit more wary of plugins than probably most developers are, because I've had bad experiences with them.
Going back to the question about themes, if you want to change a theme, is there a way for you to go backwards, or to set up a...
Yes. Yeah. And the great thing is you can actually even preview the theme before you actually activate it, so you can see what your site's going to look like and click around and go, oh yeah, this is what I want, before you actually kind of officially flip the switch. And once you install a theme, it's there. Unless you choose to delete it, it'll always be there for you to go back to. So.
Thank you.
So back to updates. Yeah, I get them, but I don't update. Exactly, because I'm the guy that developed my website for me. He updated and changed the WooCommerce thing, and he had to it freaked out. Anyway.
No, we went through it recently.
Should I?
Absolutely. Updating, a lot of what updates are, most like apart from kind of the bells and whistles and the changes to like the text editor and things like that, those are really great. A lot of the stuff that doesn't get all the big hype is security fixes, and that's why WordPress as a group only supports 2 versions back. So we're at 4.0 right now. They only actually support for new like security updates to 3.8. So if you're running anything under 3.8, you are actually a security vulnerability. Like if you're running 3.7, you need to update. Like especially very recently, it was about 2-3 weeks ago, a big massive security problem was discovered not just in WordPress but in Drupal, which is another big open source software. It's something that actually it was the same bit of code that they shared. It was a major, major, major security flaw. And the fact is, WordPress runs about 20% of the internet of all the sites in the world. If you think about a major security vulnerability in 20% of the sites on the internet, that's a big problem.
Is this the bash?
No, this is not. This is before. This one didn't get as much pub as the bash bug did. That bug was actually fixed very, very quickly by the both WordPress and Drupal teams. They actually worked together to make sure that they got it fixed and fixed quickly. And the patch was available. I think the bug was found, and then the patch was available like the next day. And because the way WordPress is now structured, you get automatic updates. So when it comes to a security update, it'll update automatically unless you have your server settings set up different. But if you were running a that didn't have automatic updates, you didn't get that update, so you're still vulnerable. And it's I don't know the exact technical specs of it, but it's all I know is that it basically can allow someone to completely take over your site and shut it down. So if you're running a business, that's a really bad thing. Yes. Oh yeah, back up before you update. For the love of God, please back up before you update. Because one little thing goes wrong. Yes.
Last question.
Amazingly stupid question, but my site's written in WooCommerce.
Mhm.
So does that mean it's WordPress.com or .org or neither?
If you're running WooCommerce, you're .org.
.org.
Yep. Do you want me to take another one?
Sure, yeah.
Since that was quick. Any last question? Yep.
What plugins do you put
Gravity Forms is one. Display widgets is another. I think that's about it. And WordPress SEO, because as an agency, we do a lot of SEO. It makes our job a lot easier.
What were those first two again?
Gravity Forms, display widgets, and WordPress SEO, which is hands down the best SEO plugin out there.
I'm going to add one more to the list myself. Any one of the many awesome backup plugins out there.
Yes.
Most of them are paid, but they're all well worth the cost.
Definitely.
Your host may back you up too. It depends on what host you use.
And depending on your host, it can be a real pain to deal with those backups, especially if you use GoDaddy.
Right, or $150.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of Jetpack?
That's a trick question. That's a trick question. Yeah. I don't use it personally, mostly because it requires you to have a WordPress.com account to use it, and I don't have one because I don't need one. So that's why I've never used it. But I know we've used a couple of our clients to use it, and they're really happy with it. So you guys do good work.